Merlin content is mediocre content.
Yo, Night at the Museum was pretty good, though. Bright and early Saturday morning. We're all a little hungover.
Mostly me.
Mostly Cam. I feel great. Winslade got me a pie from the servo, and I've entered an almost manic state in anticipation of Morbius.
Yeah, you're living your best life, and it's brutal to watch.
This is more... I am, like, experiencing a soul-deep delight right now because of my beef cruiser that I had.
It's almost like you're like some kind of child waiting to open their Morbius-themed Christmas gift.
Oh my god. Please get me Morbius-themed merch.
No, we have to store it. It has to go somewhere, you son of a bitch.
Anyway, shall we introduce ourselves? This is December the 3rd, and I'm Merlin.
I'm Cam.
I'm special guest Winslade. I have not been present for any of the previous morbing, and I haven't seen the movie, so I get to go straight in with a...
Yep.
Stuff.
It's so exciting. I'm experiencing childlike wonder. Winslade, what do you know about Morbius?
Very little. I will say I'm a fan of the podcast. I'm a long-time listener. But I can't consume what you guys are saying in a way that helps me understand a movie I haven't seen.
Yes.
So,
good.
I have, like, no understanding, no expectations. I'm just here to, like, eat Pringles with my friends.
I fucking love
Wrong,
to eat
you're here to
Pringles.
watch Morbius.
Alright, so... Cam, you didn't get to Morb yesterday.
I didn't get to Morbius. I was very disappointed about it.
What are you in anticipation of today?
I am in anticipation of watch the movie.
Yeah. Well, you've had a break. Is there any
It
scene
doesn't
that you're
feel like
looking
a break
forward...
yet, right? Because I haven't watched it enough times that it felt... It's like, for right now, I've watched Morbius once. That's an uncommon but heard of human experience, right?
Can't relate.
Whereas if I was to do this again 3 more days, then I could take a break. But right now, I've just watched a movie. And so I'm currently very hinged about it, but I have a feeling that I think today I will be somewhat less hinged afterwards. Especially because I believe for time reasons, we're popping a quick... So we're starting with one watch.
Yes.
And
we are starting with one Morbius per Morbius.
But we will then proceed to our very first double event, simultaneous Morbout. And I think that will have a profound effect on my ability to comprehend shapes.
And colours the likes of which you've never seen.
Yeah, like I'm gonna lose my mind a little bit. I'm still angry about the slow-mo.
Yep.
I need you all to know I am furious about the slow motion in this movie.
Yeah, it has been building within Cam like a kidney stone, and I expect it to rupture at any moment.
I hate that. I do not want those thoughts in my head.
I'm really excited about this Morb. I genuinely like the movie. I would rate it quite highly, actually.
I have a personal theory that this is in fact copium on Merlin's behalf, but on a level so powerful that Merlin is completely unaware of it. Like, I don't want to gas lamp you or anything here, but
I'm
surely
going to
you don't
gaslamp
enjoy
you.
the movie.
I do, though. I do enjoy the movie.
I believe you, but I don't believe you. Surely you only like Morbius to cope.
Maybe you're coping
Maybe
with
I'm
my coping.
Yeah.
I can absolutely live in a world where, like, Merlin is enjoying Morbius. I mean, like, we have very true and clear other instances where, and I say this with the maximum amount of love, Merlin content is mediocre content. I got popped up in my feed this night at the museum animated thing, and I'm like, I don't know whose fault this is, but I blame Merlin that I've even entertained clicking this link.
Yo, Night at the Museum was pretty good, though.
Like, at the Morbseum.
Yo. Are we ready?
I think we're ready. I don't think we've got any more than that prepared.
All right. And after the podcast, we will be discussing the onset of adult Morbius, I believe.
Adult onset Morbitis.
you see what happens in the movie and you start rooting for it and you go, we need Morbius.
Yeah, we do.
To stop the evil.
We need Morbius to stop the evil, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Coming back, fresh off the third Morbius.
Well, so we did pull our first ever double event. We watched we watched one Morbius, then we watched 2 simultaneous Morbs.
Mm-hmm.
Almost simultaneous Morbs.
Yes, they were out of sync, and it was great.
Only by a second or two, but I think that really affected the viewing experience. But before we get into that, Winslade, thoughts on Morbius? How did you enjoy it?
Okay, I gotta collect myself a little bit for this one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, pros. I love Matt Smith in this movie.
Right, he's so fucking good. Matt Smith acts his little heart out.
I think that as a villain, he's not a compelling villain, but I think he is an interesting villain. And I think I'd mentioned it while we were watching the movie that it's a character that's basically been freed from his primary consequence.
Yeah.
And his primary limitation. He's just gone, all right, cool, I can literally do what I want. There's no one who can stop me.
He's having so much fun.
Not God, not police, not Mikey Morbius, no one.
Absolutely not. I think that's really compelling. That, transformation of, body and psyche simultaneously.
It's interesting, but unfortunately he has no stakes. There's, no growth in his... there's no growth, there's no conflict in it.
It's not done well.
Yeah.
Yes, my one big detraction from Morbius, or the major thing that I don't like about it right now, is that there are no character arcs.
None.
Yeah,
because Mikey starts off as a guy who is fairly altruistic, and he loves kids, and he works to help poor little orphan Anne, and he's invented artificial blood, but he doesn't want a Nobel Prize for it. He's so good. And he kind of keeps that same worldview the whole time. And he's still trying to save people. He never
does. The movie, portrays his whole thing as morally ambiguous, right? He's a vampire.
Yeah.
He's an anti-hero. He killed some folks. But it goes out of its way to make sure he never does anything that you could actually think is, morally unjustifiable.
Yeah, the 8 people that he kills when he's in his nightmare fugue state are all depicted as being kind of, icky misogynists who are all, mercenaries who love to kill.
And also, he kills them in self-defense, arguably. He is shot before he attacks.
Yeah, they all shoot at him,
losing his mind about it. Yeah. And then, he spends the rest of the movie agonizing over, I can't drink real human blood out of a fucking blood bag. This is a man who's been literally needing 3 blood transfusions a day to live. The argument that it's I can't just drink real blood, I have to drink the artificial blood that doesn't work as well, really detracts from the movie to me.
Yeah, it's... So my thing about this, right, is that, Morbius is not taking the blood that he researches on from blood banks. It's not potential transfusion blood. That is blood that specifically has to be, taken and cleared for research.
Oh, I also assume that some of that might be his transfusion blood that was there for transfusing into him.
Yeah,
something he needs.
It's not like that blood was ever going to be used to save a human life. And, it doesn't really hurt them. It doesn't immobilize you or hurt you to have blood drawn from you.
And also, this is the guy who invented artificial blood, something that has saved more lives than penicillin. It is stated in one of the opening scenes, right?
Directly stated. So, he won a Nobel Prize for it.
If that is the case, then real blood is probably a lot less relevant.
Yes.
And he has a lot of claim to use it, and it's also again, he's not going to be drinking 3 transfusions of blood a day worth of blood, and even if he is, that's neutral. That is the same amount of blood consumed.
The thing about Martine, right, is that her color is purple. Martine Bancroft, the doctor love interest, her color is purple, right? So next film we are going to get purple blood that's even more useless. So yeah, Winslade, thoughts?
Yeah, so I agree with everything that you guys have said about lack of stakes in character arcs. The other real thing that I have a problem with is just kind of a little bit on the pacing of this movie. There's a couple of points where information is that you are expected as a viewer to sort of come to is you are sort of I found myself asking the question and then have it answered in the next scene via Michael Morbius dictating it into his notes or directly through a conversation, and then there's so it feels like it's delivered a beat too late and then there's a couple bits of information where we're coming through that it's also delivered too early.
Yeah.
So its pacing feels weird, and I don't like it for that reason, because there were only a couple of points where I did, like, where I was going through and doing that movie math and getting ahead of the movie, doing that thing, like, having that realization for myself, and then it just all got undercut in the way that it was delivered.
So we're talking about pacing right now, which brings me to something that I said in the first podcast, and something that I think is still relevant, is that the film editing of this movie sucks fucking dog shit. So I went to look up who the editor was, because that's partially the job of a good editor, is to, like, organize a film to make it as visually possible as possible, and to, like, organize it in a way so that it hits its, like, thematic and story beats and is, like, cogent and intelligible to the audience. So the guy who edited this movie is called Pietro Scalia. And I went to look at his filmography. I was astounded by the films this man has worked on. So he won the 1992 Academy Award for JFK, and he won the 2000 award for Black Hawk Down. He worked on Alien Covenant. He worked on The Martian. He worked on The Amazing Spider-Man. He worked on Kick-Ass, Robin Hood, Good Will Hunting.
Jesus.
Yeah, no, this is like 2 Academy Awards.
Yeah, this is a guy you would expect to have done a good job.
Yeah.
Like,
Pietro Scalia left for cigarettes and never finished editing Morbius.
it doesn't help that, like, the movie, like, the storyboard is not written very well. There's like, a few weird zones where it's like, you know, they were like, how do we have him kill 8 people when he morbs out the first time without it being morally ambiguous? Well, I guess they could be, like, mercenaries. Okay, but why would we need mercenaries? I don't know, let's put him in international waters.
Yes.
It never explains why he needs mercenaries out there. It's just sort of implied that maybe they're for protection from pirates, but, like, those mercenaries immediately pull a gun on him when he, like, acts even a little bit weird.
Hangs from the roof.
No, because he, like, Morbius, like, you know, he gets his fucking procedure done on him, and he, like, disappears a little bit, and, like, the fucking mercenary just, like, pulls his gun out and goes into the room to look to be like, hey, where's he gone?
Yeah, I'm hard considering seeing if I can find Morbius on DVD, because I want that director's commentary.
Yeah, that
right?
sounds interesting.
I'd love some, like, bonus additional scenes that they cut.
Okay, talking of scenes, sorry, you go first.
Yeah. I think it's, like, amazing, like, the contrast between, like, a good director of photography and, like, an editor who, like, kind of didn't do as good a job as they, like, clearly could have done. Like, The Martian was incredible. I think we can all agree that The Martian is, like, an astounding film to watch. But, like, I thought, like, a lot of the camera work for Morbius was really well done. There's a lot of, like, interesting, like, shot composition and, like,
and lighting,
scene analysis and design.
They do a bunch of very subtle stuff with the morb features when they're, like, showing Matt Smith listening to things far off and, like, listening to Martinez's heartbeat in that scene where they're just a subtle hint of, like, morbia. And it's interesting. It's stuff that I probably wouldn't have noticed if I hadn't watched it twice as a go.
Right?
Like, side by side. And there's some I don't think this movie, like, deserves the flag.
No. It's like, you know,
not in the volume that it got.
It's memed on very hard as a movie that was, like, just a joke. And it was clearly, like, a movie that they took seriously. They just didn't. I don't know. It feels also, though, like they could have improved it with a couple of things that aren't that hard. Like, the writing team really didn't care.
What I want to do at some point is I want to run a side-by-side comparison for Morbius and Thor 2: The Dark World. Like, one of, like...
50% opacity, 1 forwards, 1 backwards.
Garth Marenghi's Thor's The Dark World.
Well, like, the core thing being, like, they're both, like, the core thing being, or the unifying thing for that one is they are both, like, Doctor Who actors who have been transitioned into a villain in a Marvel-based movie, but also because, like, I feel like my vague recollection of Thor 2: The Dark World is suffering from a lot of the similar problems Morbius has, where it's trying to do things and not doing a great job at explaining them.
So the funniest joke in the whole movie. So Morbius is attempting to splice bat DNA and human DNA.
As you do.
Yes. And Martine walks in and she says, Morbius, you're in trouble. What are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I'm just doing my normal experiments. And she's like, you are splicing bat DNA and human DNA, Morbius. And he's like, what? I cannot believe that you would say that to me, innocent, guilt-free, never done anything wrong, Morbius. So Dr. Martin turns around and unleashes a flood of bats into a giant bat vat that is lurking directly behind her in Morbius's lab.
He's just got that there.
Yeah.
That's full of bats.
Yeah, any human medical researcher
Vampire
requires a bat vat.
Yeah.
I have like so many thoughts on Bat Vat across the whole movie.
I can't. In there.
Yeah, like how? Okay, how? It's the Batcave problem. How did you install that without someone noticing?
We'll never know. Any final thoughts though? For day 3?
Have sex.
Have sex.
No, the counterpoint for what Cam says quickly on slow-mo. The slow-mo fucking slaps when you've got it side by side.
Yeah, that
and
did
slightly
help
out of sync.
I love a nice double flop.
Cracked up, yeah. Like being able to watch crash out of the glass twice.
To be fair, the intent of that was not to make him look dumb as hell, but that is what they did succeed at. So I still think that the slow-mo is again not being used correctly.
Standout seeing this movie, Morbius beaches himself like a dying whale.
Also, again, Matt Smith have sex is just the best scene in the movie.
I think the deadly to bats, fatal to humans, fatal to humans in the desync fucking
Deadly
perfect.
to bats, fatal to humans. That's what all you need in a poison.
Yeah. Thanks for having me,
Cheers,
guys.
lads.
Thanks very much for having me.